natural to die.
Hello, fuckers! What's up? Wow. I haven't made a video for 2 months. That's dose for my friends in Mexico. Hola, amigos! But no, seriously. Hello, YouTube. Did you die off yet? No? Okay, cool. What's up, you motherfuckers? Welcome to Snapchat Rant number 13. My big summer blowout! A lot of crazy shit has happened to me in the past 2 months. A lot. In February, I got a job for... shit, dog. I want to say 2 weeks. That's right, 2 weeks! Maybe even 3. I had about 2 or 3 weeks of actual work. This place was horrible! Yes. It's a place called Texas Roadhouse. I worked there first as a host and then as a busboy. Yeah. While I was a busboy, I ran into these things called 14-hour shifts. Basically what you do when the whole restaurant is closed, you sweep up all the peanut shells, which is obvious because we're clean as shit in the morning. And then you clean the kitchen. For 3 fucking hours! So evidently I would get there about maybe 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning and then work until 4 in the morning. It was not fun. My whole spring break was spent fighting, working, and sleeping. Okay guys, it's time to get serious. But no, seriously, there's something we need to talk about. My dad died, March 21st, 2017. My dad was sick for about a month and a half before we realized something was wrong. Yeah. I came home from work one night, because my father and my mom had gone to urgent care to see what was wrong with my dad's leg. For those of you that know my dad, everybody knew that my dad had psoriasis and arthritis, and basically what that did, it would cause ultimate skin growth and swelling in certain parts of his body, so more or less his legs the most. So basically, my dad had about 5 or 6 silver dollar sized blisters on his leg. Now, my dad's legs were pretty swollen. They were about twice the size as my legs, which is fucking huge. But that one particular week, his right leg was about 4 times the size of my leg. So my mom took him to urgent care to see why the blisters were leaking and why he couldn't sleep and why he couldn't see and why he was hallucinating. Basically, what the doctors told him is that he had a problem with his blood vessels and he needed to have some surgery and needed to take some antibiotics. Okay, Dad. My dad had a lot of surgery. My dad retired from his job in 2012 because he fell off the side of a building from fixing a sign and had about 5 or 6 surgeries after that. So, over the course of 5 years. So I was like, okay, so I went to bed, I woke up, I went to school, came home, there's throw up and blood leading from his room to the bathroom. I didn't take pictures because it was really, really gross, but my bathroom looked like a crime scene, literally. Like, there was blood everywhere. So I found my baby brother and I said, Colin, where's Dad? And he said, oh, he's in Mom and Dad's room. So I go in their room and my dad's laying on the bed. His eyes are like hot bleach yellow and he's not moving. So I go, Dad, are you okay? And he goes, no, your mom's taking me to the hospital right when we take you to work. Why am I going to work? So we got in the car, and when my mom came home, they drove me to work and drove him to the hospital. So when I got on my break, I called my brother and said, what's going on? And he said, well, Dad has an infection and he has to stay at the hospital for a few days. perfect. At least that's what I thought. So I went up to my boss and I said, look, something's going on with my dad. I gotta stay home tomorrow from work to watch my baby brother. Sure. I was gonna stay home from school, but my mom didn't let me. So next day comes, I get to school, about 4th period rolls around, and the 12th grade dean comes to my classroom and escorts me to the office. So she goes, what's going on with your dad? And I go, oh shit, it's seriousness time. Now let me remind you, the night before I worked about until 11 o'clock, because at this point I'm still not 18 and I'm still considered a minor. In the state of Florida, on school nights, if you're a minor, you cannot work past 11. I worked until 11:02. When my mom came and picked me up, we went to McDonald's and then we went home, and by this time it's about 1:30. Now, obviously, the week before I was working until 4:30 in the morning, so obviously, I'm awake as shit. So I'm sitting in my chair and watching TV, and then I get a call from my grandmother. She said, what's going on with your dad? Well, I don't know. So basically, she explains to me what my dad has. My dad has something called sepsis, or my dad had something called sepsis. Sepsis is the formation of a bacterial infection that is very rare, and it takes over your whole body and makes your organs fail. I didn't know that at the time because she said I can't tell you anything other than that. Fast forward back to the day my dad died. So my dean tells me, what's going on with your dad? And I explained to her what my grandmother said, and she goes, oh. And I said, so why am I in the office? And she said, well, your mother called and she's very upset and she doesn't have time to get out of the car, so I'm signing you out. And then I said, oh. Then she proceeds to tell me that my mother's crying and that she has no idea what's going on, so she's just going to wait in the office. So we're waiting and everybody's looking at me, and it's kind of really weird, and I'm freaked out and they're freaked out, and I'm like, help, Jesus. So finally my mother shows up to my school. My dean signs me out and I get in the car. So my mother starts talking to me. This is what's wrong with your dad. When somebody has sepsis, there's a 50% chance of you to come out of it. Minus 10% for every organ that's failed. The doctor didn't sugarcoat it for my mother. When my dad was admitted into the ICU on the front of the line, his heart, his lung, his liver, his kidney, and his brain had failed. So my dad had a 0% chance of living, and the doctor said, I'll be optimistic, I'll give you 5%. Then the doctor said, whoever wants to be here and needs to say goodbye needs to come right now. So that's how my mom showed up at my school. I almost said my house because I'm in my house. Oh boy. So we went home and we picked up my baby brother because he's homeschooled. I grabbed some snacks and we went to the hospital. We went into the room, and this is the weirdest thing I have ever seen. My dad is hooked up to life support. My dad is hooked up to, the monitors that check your heart rate and how you're breathing. He has 3 catheters in him. He has a blanket over his leg, which had the blisters, which had popped by now. And my dad's chest was convulsing so bad I thought it was going to rip open. So I called my girlfriend and I said, here's what's going on. I'll call you later. So at that point, she had after school and couldn't talk to me until 5 or 6 o'clock. So over the course of that time, I was told maybe 3 times that my dad was not going to make it through the hour. My dad was going to make it half an hour. Twice my dad's heart coded over. And when your heart codes over, that basically means that your heart stops and then it starts again. And that's not very good for your organs. So, my mom's work friend came. I was on and off the phone. My dad has 5 sisters. My grandmother was also coming that night versus the next day. Either one. So 3 of the 5, I was leading them to where the house was, leading them to where the hospital was, because we didn't know if he was going to make it later or not. So finally, after a long day of crying, freaking out, it's now 7. Basically, overall, what was wrong was my dad, which was he had low blood pressure and his kidneys were failing. Now, if you're like me and you fall asleep in science class, basically what your kidney does is it filters out your urine, your salts, all your horrible. Since my dad's kidney was failed, it couldn't do that. So what dialysis does, it's pretty much a form of life support, but for your kidneys, and it gets them moving so all the urine and stuff can come out, so your blood pressure. Finally, it started working, and everything was okay at this point. He was starting to breathe through his mouth, finally. They took a hose, just like when you're at the dentist and it sucks out all, like, the tartar from your teeth. It did the same thing, but for the blood in his mouth. And we thought he was gonna live, but he didn't, so 10 o'clock, my best friend's mom is here, my girlfriend's here, my baby brother's crying, my mom is crying, my mom's friend had just left, and the doctor comes in. This is 10 o'clock at night, so the doctor comes in and says, his heart has coded over for the 3rd time, you need to come with us. Finally, she comes back about maybe 10 minutes later, and she just sits with us and says, he's not going to make it. So we accepted it. 10:30 comes around, I'm on the phone with my great aunt, and my girlfriend comes out and says, your dad's dead. So, they took about an hour to clean the room, and we went in and saw him. Now, I've only seen 2 other people dead in front of me. One was somebody I grew up with, and the other was my grandfather. And until you're put in a casket, everybody that's dead looks the same, but they look different. Your whole face just, like, falls back. Your skin is deteriorating. Not deteriorating, but, like, gone. It's not, like, gone either, but it's just, like, it's not even skin, it's just like flab. It's horrible. I'm crying, it's lit. Before my father had died, my dad was in a coma, but he could hear us. My dad was a very miserable person. He had a lot of medical problems. He had a lot of weight, so he couldn't walk well. So, being German, my father would get very upset when he was hurt, frustrated, whatever. My dad was always angry. So that would clash with me because I'm 50-50 with Irish and German, so I'm kind of a bitch, as you can tell. So the doctor told me to take my dad's hand and just talk to him. So I took my dad's hand and I said, Dad, I love you and I'm sorry.